if you want to understand the longevity field beyond basic biohacking and snake oil supplements, then you should probably watch this video. Because I kind of realized that there's very little content that explains longevity in simple entry level terms. So while I'm still figuring this shit out myself, I'll try to pass it on in a digestible way so only my brain gets fried in the process. Um, but first of all, like you can only slow aging with lifestyle supplements and some drugs, but you cannot biohack your way out of aging, and you probably won't get there with traditional pharma pills either. So instead of hacks, the longevity field has converged around three main strategies that people are betting on. The first one is biostasis, which is commonly known as cryonics. This one requires you to or this doesn't require you to understand aging. You can kind of bypass aging with this strategy. So that's a category for it. And but what it does is that it only buys you time. But it is the idea that you basically pause aging entirely by cooling the body to very low temperatures right after you're declared legally dead, and then you preserve your body like long term. And the idea is that you put your biology on pause, and then you basically pray to God and future scientists that they'll wake you up once aging has been solved in the future. So it's not about fixing aging; it's about buying time, and it's not totally crazy in principles. There are animals that we know can pause their biology. We know that Arctic tree frogs, for example, they can freeze solid. So we do have some cases of it in nature. I'll just draw a frog for you here so that you can remember, and so that I can remember. But basically, their heart stops and their brain activity stops. But when they then thaw out, they just keep on living as if like nothing happened. So we know biology already solved the problem, and the goal is just to cool the body and mix it with chemicals to prevent damage from like ice crystals and other destructive processes from breaking down your body. And the main bottleneck right now is revival, because we're pretty good at preserving tissue, but what we can't do yet is rewarm the large human bodies evenly yet. So it's kind of like microwaving food in a sense. Like the outside gets burning hot while the inside stays frozen. So for a normal person, like you would be super cold on the inside, but then your skin would probably like melt if we tried to do it today, and that's pretty bad. Um, yeah, so there are also like major problems with cellular repair and molecular damage. So right now it's only like a preservation thing and not really a resurrection thing. But still, like if your alternative is sudden decay, then this might be a rational long-term bet. Second strategy is replacement, which is in this field, because you can kind of bypass aging with it, and it also solves aging in the process. Yeah, and it's based on the idea that we already know how to make young humans. So in theory, instead of fixing aging everywhere at once, we could replace aging parts with younger ones, kind of like spare parts for the body. So it's like organ replacement and tissue grafts, and in some extreme cases, people are talking about like full body replacement. So one idea that comes up here is cloning like a young, non-sentient version of yourself, which is basically like a brain-dead biological shell. And then the thinking is that instead of 3D printing every organ, you just grow a complete body and transplant the brain or the head. So you grow a person where the brain is dead, and then you have your body that you kind of just replace over to a brain that is healthy, but you have an old body. So that's just a bad drawing, but I think you get the point. So conceptually it makes sense, but it's kind of like a minefield when it comes to the legal stuff and the ethics and stuff. And the hardest part is that the brain ages too, right? So you can't just grow a new one without defeating the whole point and lose your like identity. But we do know from patients that have slow growing tumors that the brain functions can sometimes like migrate to other regions of the brain. So this is just like a weird drawing of a brain that's short, but if you have like this area of the brain with a function, it can migrate over to another area if it gets killed in the process, or if you lose that part of the brain. So in theory, what you could do is that you could silence parts of the brain step by step, and then you'll just let their functions migrate, and then you have another part of the brain that you just replace the old part with, and then you basically have like a new brain, like over time. There are also ideas around fully rejuvenating the brain by using cell replacements and gene therapies, which obviously sounds more sexy, but it's like still a field that's in the early stages. The main bottlenecks are things like spinal cord reconnections and nerve integrations and immune rejections. Um, and obviously public perceptions and ethics, they're also like slightly big constraints in this field. But the good thing about replacement is that it's avoid needing to fully understand aging, but it's also like super risky. So yeah, that's a replacement for you. The last one is advanced bioengineering. And this is the area where most research activity is happening. And the goal is to basically like update the software for your genetics. So instead of like swapping out the hardware, you change how the cells behave and you push them back towards a younger state. I don't know if I have space enough here. Anyways, like there are a lot of bottlenecks in this area, so, and it's also the hardest parts, but it's still also the sexiest part, like the sexiest area to work in. And like if we can fix it with advanced bioengineering, then like it would be preferable, I guess, rather than swapping out your body with a new one. But like the first big bottleneck is that we need data from many different cell types, like young and old people, and it needs to be tracked over time because aging is super slow and messy, and it's different for like everyone. So that makes experiments take years, and the results are pretty hard to analyze. The second one is that we don't really understand what what young actually means. So we don't fully understand yet what a healthy youthful cell looks like in practice, and cells can exist in many states, and we don't even yet understand which ones matter and which ones don't. So we kind of need to make, I don't have space to draw it, but like a map of how we can go from, I don't know, mapping out like how the cells move between these states, and that requires massive models, and it's very slow experiments. So you might run something today on a model and only know if it works like in a couple of years. The third bottleneck is that we need to learn from evolution, because some animals barely age and others can regrow limbs, but humans can't do any of those things. But it's not like it's impossible. Like I just don't think that evolution bothered to optimize us for living like long after we have kids. So right now we are trying to rediscover repair systems that evolution like never fully built into us. And the fourth and last one, like there are many other areas, but like the fourth major bottleneck is delivery. So we need to be able to like do full body gene delivery without everything just ending up in the liver. And we also need a dependable way for programming these cells with new like synthetic biological programs. And like we are starting to crack the code on this, but there are still a long way to go. The last area, and this is not so much an area in the longevity field that I think is viable, but it's traditional pharma. Because what traditional pharma does is that it needs you to understand aging, and it only buys you time. Like it's like maybe 10 years at the most, or 20 if we use only traditional pharma. So that's pretty shit. So my money is on the advanced bioengineering, but I'm still open towards replacement and biostasis. Yeah. Anyways, these are the three strategies that people are betting on. Cryonics buys time, replacement swaps parts, and bioengineering tries to reprogram the system itself. And none of these are solved. So if you want to follow along as I try to understand longevity deeply enough to one day build a company in this safe base, then follow along, and mistakes will be included.